Good morning, everyone here in this space and everyone who is joining us on Zoom. We ring our peace bowl this morning with the joy again of being in person, but also being able to share this time. And we ring this peace bowl with our affirmation. Something is happening. We've become so accustomed to being to technology. Thank you all. Thank you all. And this morning we ring our peace bowl, and I will do it once more. And with this sound, we affirm our collective hope for peace. And we acknowledge that these lands that we love to hike, that we love to picnic in, that we love to live in, are the ancestral lands of the Yavapai people, the Wipukepas, the Tolkepayas, the Quevkepayas, and the Yavapai. We begin this morning with the troisième gymnopédie of Eric Satie. He was writing at around the time that Rainer Maria Rilke was, and we think that Rilke may have listened and enjoyed this music.
Good morning. That was beautiful, Lena. Thank you. What a delight it is to be here on so many levels. It's great to see you all. Welcome to Granite Peak Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Prescott, Arizona. I'm Tracy Augustine. Can you all hear me? Great. Oh, goody. I get to remove my mask. I'm your worship associate today, and I'm honored to be here among you at this very special hybrid service. Welcome to all those who are joining us online as well. We extend a warm welcome to everyone, and we're so happy you are able to join us. We hope you are all in good health. This is the mission statement of our congregation. We are a compassionate, spiritual community that celebrates diversity, nurtures the personal, and spiritual growth of all ages, shares our gifts, promotes justice for all, and serves the world we live in. If this is your first visit, welcome. More information about our community can be found at our Visitors Cafe table in the back or on our website, prescottuu.org, as well as chatting with some of the members. Again, we thank our pianist, Lena, our choir director in the back, Mary Lou Prince, will be singing next week, and all our volunteers. Now, please take a moment, if you haven't already, to put your phones on worship mode. Before we begin our service, there are a few announcements. We are an active community, so please check the weekly peak, our website, the order of service, and Reverend Patty's videos for announcements. As you probably know, today is the annual Link Breakfast, COVID style, where we will be serving about 25 families with food, Walmart gift cards, and presents for the family's children. Thank you to all the volunteers who made this happen. The winter solstice celebration will be on December 21st, 7 p.m. in the sanctuary. There are also still guest spaces for the New Year's Day brunch at Udell Stuckey's home. You can get the contact information in the announcements. And then there's another film night this Wednesday, December 15th, from 4 to 5:30. The film is called Other Side of the Hill, Rural Perspectives on a Changing Climate, and it will be right here in the sanctuary. We begin our service in the Unitarian Universalist tradition of lighting the chalice. The chalice reading today is a section taken from a narrative called Reflection by Maria Russo, co-founder of Culturist, an online magazine that covers conscious travel, social good, and holistic wellness. Here is the passage. I've had quite a long relationship with patience, so long that I would really love to politely ask her to hit the road, as she is no longer welcome. But of course, she stubbornly stays, and I am left with nothing else but to trust that she is with me for a very important reason. Patience usually travels with surrender, and these two gals often help us let go of many of the unresolved bits of life that settle in our hearts. They force us to get comfortable with the uncomfortable, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe, just maybe, we need to be okay with waiting, and in time that we wait, we actually learn so much about ourselves, more than we ever thought we could. Maybe we begin to confront the grief and the failures and the pain and the dreams that we've been hoping to realize. And maybe through all of it, we become so strong that patience leaves, seeing that she is no longer needed. And after all the agony, we forget why she came. We light this chalice, a symbol of our heritage, in gratitude for this beloved community.
Good morning. It's so marvelous to hear something back. 20 months of silence. Thank you all for coming. And this morning, I want to open again with my joy, as I did last week, for being able to be with you in person, and the strength of, I can just feel this kind of vibration of fellow humans that I haven't felt in a while. I want to read a poem, parts of a poem by Rainer Maria Rilke, because this question that we have, this idea of questions, came from a book that he wrote, of letters that he wrote back to a young man who was wondering if he was really a poet. And Rainer Maria Rilke's poetry was so incredibly wonderful. This gives you a taste of his poetry. Walking light, heading south over a mountain pass, a pack heavy with simple things, the rise and fall of trees and snow, a cycle spinning new each turn, the high sheltered space of a spruce forest dissolves into low knotty shrubs, tangled with the light of 1,000 moons, the patience which lives inside thin air, a pathless passage through the daytime boreal night, through downhill winds which give no rest, a darkness so complete that echoes crack and rocks fall forever. On the edge, the point at which two snowflakes divide into north and south, the children of light and dark parting ways. Sight, utterly limited, incapable of focusing on two eyes at once, of looking out on the whole of north and south, grasping it as one. Returning, would it be possible at all without the distant green of the forest, without the steady rise and fall of wind and rocks, of trees and snow? For the steady rise and fall of wind and rocks, of trees and snow, let us sing on Zoom. You're welcome to lift your voices. And here I invite you to hum along, because singing is not a good thing to do, we've learned. Come, come, whoever you are. Would you like to rise in body or spirit?
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come, 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 whoever you are, condemned, worshipper, whoever you leaving, yours is
congregation, there is a dislike of rounds. So we can do them now when we don't have to sing them perfectly. This morning, there was quite a scuffle when I was heading out the door, and Sophronia my name is Sophronia, and I am here without Bruno because Bruno is a cad. Bruno could be my lunch. And I dislike having him here when we are having a very serious topic. My name, Sophronia, the root of it is Sophia. Any of you know what that means? I hear wisdom out there. That's me, wisdom. So today we are talking about questions, and I am wondering what the questions are on your hearts. Or do you have a question for me? But don't have it be about Bruno. He may never come back. Oh. Any questions out there? No? No questions? Oh my. Somebody's, oh, no. Craig Phillips is just scratching his head. It is an owl. I, not it. I am an owl. I am an owl. And my question, the question that is deep in my heart, and I was hoping you would ask me that because that would have been more interesting than my just simply having to tell you that. But the question that is in my heart, yes, when will COVID end? Oh, I believe that COVID will end. And at that moment, we will know it. Within the next 20 years, I know it will happen. Any other questions from Zoom? I have been asked, what is the meaning of life? That's rather an easy question, I find. I find meaning in life when I'm very helpful. The pack rats, they go against my being helpful. But I feel as if I'm being helpful when I stand in the tree and hoot, because it makes some people I know feel very peaceful inside. Thank you, Sophronia. Oh, another question. Yes. Oh, when can we come and tear the ceiling down? My favorite question. My favorite question. And there's no quick answer to that one. But we will let you know. We need your name and phone number because we are creating a team of people and gathering sledgehammers. How many of you will come when we tear down the ceiling? Woohoo! Yes. Oh, thank you. Oh. So now I invite you once again into the sound of that bell. I invite you to breathe. Let us breathe together. Today, as we feel our feet on the floor, or wherever our feet are finding themselves, let us consider this earth with all of the layers that stretch below us. And let us hold in this moment the places on this earth, like those 6 states through which a tornado flew and was on the ground for 200 miles, destroying so much. Let us hold the people who are lost, the people who know that they have loved ones who have died, the people who are still being looked for, the people who are looking at their hometowns and seeing destruction, as in Mayfield, Kentucky. We hold, especially today, Louis Pierce, who had a stroke this past week. And I will begin lighting some candles for these people. Is there okay. We are lighting a candle especially for Louis Pierce, who is Cindy Pierce's, a marvelous soprano in our choir, is her father. He had a stroke this past week. And we light a candle of joy for Judy Davis, who is out of quarantine from COVID. She was hoping to come to this service, but I can't see her out there, so she isn't with us. But the fact that she was considering it is gives me a great feeling of joy. Let us also hold Ed Rosage, and let us hold Eunice Lovejoy, who is surrounded by the love of her sons. We hold Jack Stanton in joy, who is here with us. Thank you, Jack, for coming. Thank you. He is recovering well. We hold Ainsley O'Donnell. We hold Karen Anderson, who is beautifully recovering from her last procedure, and Peter Eldridge, who continues to discover the world differently and with great courage. We hold Drew Potter and his son Tom, who will be moving, Merle Hagberg and Karen, who are also learning to live differently. We hold Pocahontas and Jean Gertler. We hold the families of all of those, and I believe the number has gone up to 800,000. Is that true? In the last couple of days, of people who have died from COVID. And we ask for blessings on all of those families who are feeling that great loss. We hold the families of youth who died from gun violence last week and a half ago. And now I invite you, if there are candles that you would like to light, you are welcome to do so. And then we will have some time. So doesn't seem like people are coming up, so let us enter into a minute of meditation, after which I will offer a meditation prayer. Spirit of life, we are here. Many of us carry with us joys and sorrows that are unspoken. We ask for solace. We ask for accompaniment in joy. We especially send through that marvelous web of the interdependent life, we send our accompaniment to the people who are experiencing the destruction hospitalized, for the people who are caring for the now once again bursting hospitals, for the doctors and nurses who are working overtime. May they find comfort and rest. For all that is unspoken and spoken, we pray in your many names. Amen. And now we have the joy of humming together, walking with you. And those of you who are online, we invite you to sing. Thank you, Lena.
As we prepare to take the offering this morning, let us embrace the feeling of connection and community that we have when we gather together. Let us remember that this congregation and its programs are supported by your generosity. We also give back to the greater community through our Seeds of Support program. December Seeds of Support is the Martin Luther King celebration. Granite Peak is working with the committee to organize these events. There are many financial costs to bring this event to the community, and your December Seeds of Support donation demonstrates our continued support for this opportunity to promote peace and justice in the broader Prescott community. Please read about them in your order of service and in the newsletter. If you are joining us remotely, you can give through our website or use the link provided in the chat on our Zoom. We acknowledge the generosity of spirit expressed through this offering. What is given in love is received in gratitude. Blessed be.
Before I begin my reading, I need to backtrack a little bit into Joys and Sorrows because I wasn't reading from what I had on my script because I had so many things. I'm not a multitasker. And I forgot to mention Dan and Sandy Reardon. And I also forgot to mention Kelsey Wilkes, who is recovering from a knee replacement. Anyway, we definitely hold them, and I apologize for having my eyes skip over you. Our reading today comes from Letters to a Young Poet. How many of you know that book? Not many. Okay. And it was written by the Bohemian Austrian poet Rainer Maria Rilke, who lived from 1875 to 1926. And he wrote them to a young man, Franz Xaver Capus, a 19-year-old office cadet at the Theresian Military Academy in Wiener Neustadt. Over the course of 10 letters, Rilke advises Capus on how a poet needs to feel, love, and seek truth in trying to understand and experience the world around him and engage the world of art. They are words that have been treasured and savored by artists since these words were published. And it is words from this book that inspired Norma West to give me this topic for a sermon about how to live with the questions. They come from this paragraph in the book, Letters to a Young Poet. I would like to beg you, dear sir, to have patience with everything unresolved in your heart, and try to love the questions themselves as if they were locked rooms or books written in a very foreign language. Don't search for the answers, which could not be given to you now, because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything, live the questions now. Perhaps then, someday, far in the future, you will gradually, without even noticing it, live your way into the answer. When this 19-year-old officer cadet, Franz Capus, discovered that Rainer Maria Rilke had graduated from the same military school that he attended, he saw an opportunity, as if you had found that one of your classmates had become very famous, somebody who had gone to your school. For Capus was also a poet, and he thought that Rilke would criticize his poems. He wrote to Rilke, and more than criticism, I think he hoped that Rilke would praise his poems. He wrote to Rilke with a burning underlined question: are my poems any good? Am I a good poet? Is it worth my time to engage in being an artist? This kind of question can dominate our thinking, especially as we embark on a new phase of life, of being a writer, an artist, a musician. And I believe this can happen at any age. We want some assurance that what we are doing is worthwhile, that we are good. This is a time when talented people can be destroyed by someone who is in a position of authority. And the young writer Capus was giving Rilke the power to decide on his destiny as a poet. With wisdom, Rilke respectfully declined to review or criticize Capus's poetry, advising the young man that Nobody can advise you and help you. Nobody. There is only one way. Go into yourself. Rilke's response was not what the young man was looking for, but it was the response that he needed. In so many words, Rilke was saying, you are asking the wrong question. In the 10 letters that he wrote to Kappas, Rilke is helping this young man find the questions that are worthy of love, questions that come out of what is unresolved in one's heart, questions that take time, that do not have easy answers, as if they were locked rooms or books written in a very foreign language. Don't search for the answers, he wrote, which could not be given to you now, because you would not be able to live them. Live the questions. Then perhaps someday, far in the future, you will gradually, without even noticing it, live your way into the answer. I wonder, what questions are worth all that energy of living our way into an answer? Once in a restroom of a restaurant, Lou and I heard a question. Women standing in front of the mirror, readying themselves to return to their dates. Is my hair great? One of them asked to the other. We have lots of kinds of questions, and I imagine that the path that brought you to this place in this moment was also driven by some questions. I wonder if you had this question: is there a religion where I can feel that I belong? Is there a religion where my gifts are welcome and I can flourish? Is there a place where I can be encouraged to think? When Lou and I had a ministry in Salt Lake City, we were invited to Brigham Young University, our alma mater, for those of you who don't know that piece of information, to talk about our experience with LGBTQIA students at BYU. The environment was very controlled. We were off campus at a library, and there was a moderator or chaperone wearing a suit with a wife at his side whose hand he continued to hold throughout the meeting, announcing, "I'm not here because I'm gay." I talked about leaving the Mormon Church, which for my words, questions were texted to me anonymously. One of them was, how do I choose life? How do I choose life? As I was digesting that question, I looked out at the group of about 50 students, and I wondered which one of them or ones of them were struggling to find a way to keep living. One of the reasons Lou and I were drawn to Salt Lake City was because of the high suicide rate of LGBTQ Mormon youth. So I don't remember exactly what I said to answer this question. Probably I answered that all the pain that I had caused around me in my family and community by coming out and leaving the Mormon Church had been worth it, because they were steps to survival, to being alive, that my choice to live had been a costly choice, and it had been worth it. But what I wish I had said is this: I would love to sit with the person who has this question and listen to what their thoughts are around this. I want to listen to what your heart is saying about this. And that question has continued to haunt me. And I grew to believe that no matter where I was, there was often someone holding such a question. How do I choose life? My hope for this congregation, and for now meeting at least partially in person, is that we will be able to hold space for such a question, that we will be able to sit with each other as we live into the questions that we have. I think that a lot of that goes on in Raven Boys. What do you think, you Raven Boys out there? Yay. And those of you men who are here who don't know about Raven Boys, Peter, would you raise your hand? Go and speak to him or Frank, who is in the back row, and ask them about this men's group. And there's another group called the UU support group, and a lot of that support goes on in that place as well. And for me this week, thanks to the opportunity of thinking about worthy questions, I have realized how important it is for us to have questions, to really ask those questions that are worthy of living into. In the book we talked about last week, Mission Joy, that book had far too much wisdom for one sermon. Both the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu spoke of having an intention for their day. The Dalai Lama said that his intention every day was to have a meaningful day, which meant to him to have a meaningful encounter. His underlying question was, or could have been, how can I live a meaningful life? And I believe that after years with this intention, focusing his energy, his life embodies meaning, as if living into the question, setting that intention, has transformed his life. So I wonder if a way to decide if a question is worth our time is by seeing if it has power as an intention. I have seen so many in this community go through difficulties. And all of us together have gone through a pandemic. And during these difficulties, I have seen you find questions that have changed everything. I have heard this question, maybe if not voiced, embodied. How can I live with grace as I lose mobility? How can I connect and flourish in the world with limited eyesight? How can I be at peace with a degenerative illness? How can I continue living when my beloved people are gone? I have also heard people asking, how can I cross the divide? How can I live out Black Lives Matter in Prescott, Arizona? How can I keep my feelings of compassion? How can I heal from addiction? How can I love myself when I fall back into an addiction? How do I live with my imperfection? These questions are worth our time. I wonder what question you are holding that is worth your time. I hope after this service you share those questions. For us, during this past couple of years, a burning question has been, how can I be a good neighbor? These questions have led to an intention. Today, I want to be a good neighbor. Gradually, Lou and I have come to know the names of many people in our neighborhood. And of course, we know their dogs' names, and everybody knows Louie, wouldn't you say? And I know Hamish Christie's in our neighborhood. So when we decided to stay here for Thanksgiving, it seemed natural to us to call our next door neighbors and say, would you like to have Thanksgiving together? And to tell you the truth, it was our best Thanksgiving ever. There was no turkey, and we had chocolate cake, and we had conversation and laughter. And I have no idea what political party they belong to. I think they would guess with us, but we've never talked about it. And during this time, I chose this question because of the divide I've heard about so much from all of you. I wondered where the divide could be crossed. And I thought that the natural place would be in neighborhoods. For us, being good neighbors is at the heart of our ministry here. I can't ask you to be good neighbors if we can't be good neighbors. I can't ask you to cross a divide if my own life is lived with one. Another question has been this: how can I show the earth my love? How can I be present to every moment I have on this earth? How can I fulfill my calling as minister here in Prescott? And I wonder for you, I have this question: how can we as a congregation fulfill our calling with each other and in the greater community? Throughout our history, we have lived into the questions that propelled a few people to want to establish Granite Peak. And now we are nearing the end of the year and the beginning of another one. And I remember a holiday card I saw last year that said something like, "Here's to forgetting last year." These have been hard years. And this is a time to think of the questions you want to bring into the new year. Our mission statement, which Tracy read at the beginning, gives us a good beginning for this thinking. It starts with, we are a compassionate, hear that word, compassionate spiritual community that celebrates diversity, nurtures the personal and spiritual growth of all ages, shares our gifts, promotes justice for all, and serves the world we live in. What if we lived into that statement that emerges? What if we make the beginning into a question? How do we become a compassionate spiritual community? And what if our intention in every gathering was, we want to become a compassionate spiritual community? We could set intentions each day. I want to live with compassion this day. When we set an intention, we are more likely to stop and think before we react. When we experience something that challenges our feelings of compassion, and I could name quite a few, my compassion is often challenged. But then we could think, but I have this intention. We could remind ourselves to keep compassion. I love Rainer Maria Rilke's mystical poetry and the mystical connection that he makes with this earth. These are some words from his Book of Hours. All creation holds its breath, listening with me, because to hear you I keep silent. At my senses' horizon, you appear instantly like scattered islands. Yet standing here, peering out, I'm all the time seen by you. I'm all the time seen by you. To prepare for today, I've also been reading about Rilke's life, a life that was faithful to a question about how he could bring his gifts into the world. And he gave such a great gift to the world, his poetry. And reading about his life, I wish that he had enjoyed a greater portion of joy. I couldn't help but think that perhaps that young student who inspired these letters to a young poet might have been able to suggest some other questions to the great teacher that perhaps seemed frivolous, but would have infused his life with more lightness and joy. I wonder how Rilke's life would have changed if he had added the question that am often asked at our home. How can we have more fun? I confess to you that sometimes the deep questions within me that I try to live into can get in the way of simple everyday happiness. And I am grateful to have a partner in my life who reminds me to lighten up, to see the humor, who listens to my sermons and says, there is no humor in them. Last week, we saw that in the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Tutu. The intention that the Dalai Lama voices is that of having a meaningful day, but unsaid, he certainly has an underlying intention to have a really fun day as well. In fact, he spoke of being at serious gatherings of holy people or politicians. And he wished that something would happen, like somebody would fall off a chair or somebody would spill their food at a dinner, that there would be something that would break the serious mood. Because even in the most serious moments of memorial services for someone who was killed by the police, Archbishop Tutu talked about offering some humor, which was a way of surviving and was an offering of healing. As we together near the end of the year, I invite you to find time and search for the question or questions that are in your heart, and consider making these a daily intention. I hope that when we gather together in January, we turn our mission statement into a communal intention of being a compassionate spiritual community. And I also invite you to add some levity. Just try it out. Along with a serious intention, try the intention of having more fun. I think after this pandemic, we need it, but I think we always need it. I think that is how we will all be smiling when we rip this ceiling off. But perhaps not all of us will be smiling, because it's never all of us. But I hope that we will be smiling when, in Rilke's words, someday far in the future, we will gradually, without even noticing it, we will live our way into that answer. Amen, and may it be so. And now let us rise in body or spirit and hum in person and sing one of our favorite Unitarian Universalist songs, Wo Ya Ya.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going.
And please dance. I promised
But
Joan
we
we'd have
know
dance.
we will get there. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know we will get there. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know we will get there. Boom, boom, ti-boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, ti-boom, boom, boom. We will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there. We know we will get there. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know we will get there. Boom, boom, ti-boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, ti-boom, boom, boom. It will be hard, we know, that the road will be muddy and rough, but we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there. We know we will get there. Boom, boom, ti-boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, ti-boom, boom, boom. It will be hard, we know, that the road will be muddy and rough, but we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there. We know we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will.
Together, may we find those questions that are worthy of living into. And may we have the intention of fun and joy as we live into those questions. Amen. And may it be so. And now, before we extinguish our chalice, I would love for those who are new, if you would like to introduce yourselves. If you haven't been here for a while, well, that's almost everybody, which is fine. And I also want you to be thinking when after we extinguish our chalice, and all of you on Zoom as well, of thinking about what questions rise to the surface for you. Are you finding questions? Do you have a question you live by that is worthy of that energy and time? So is there anyone who would like to introduce themselves? And oh, oh, wonderful. Edna, so great to see you. So great to see you. I thought that was you, but it's but we're all kind of in disguise, aren't we? Yes. Okay. Wow. Wow. Wonderful. That's something to brag about. Thank you. Thank you. And I will make sure that you will be on fast dial on that happy day when we take our sledgehammers and get up on ladders and do things that are dangerous. What? He's a Raven boy. Yay, 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 Raven boys. Oh, okay, so now we can extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this chalice. Wait, I need to wait. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And now I invite you to share questions if that interests you, but also, I mean, you will do whatever you want to do anyway. So, and I asked people to come up here this time if they wanted to say anything, and only one person came. So I'm going to go back to my place in the foyer, but we're going to wait till Bonnie does her business and moves through, and then I'll go there. Oh, Barb, sorry. And happy birthday to Stephen Lovejoy last Wednesday.